Welcome, everybody, to Monty's Be Fantastic show, a.k.a. Dr. Fantastic. And I've got two great people in the back here, and we're going to talk about all sorts of different things today. One of which is, how are you? And which is a silly-ass question that everyone asks. Turns out they ask the same damn thing in Canada. And it's a rhetorical question that no one gives a damn for the answer. And my play on it is 98% of people are trained to say good. Whether they're good or not, that's the knee-jerk answer, I'm good. And to me, that drives me nuts. The other 2% say I'm fine, I'm well, I'm all right, can't complain, and I'm tired. Those are the other answers I get. So in Canada, they say the same damn thing, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, everybody says, how are you? Then you say, I'm fine. And I remember one time someone said, how are you? And I said, I'm well. And they said, thank you for giving the correct answer.
That's the correct English. I mean, that's the proper English.
The proper English answer was that I'm well. But didn't ask why I was well, or if I actually was well, or what is our definition of well,
Mm-hmm.
I used to work in a farmer's market, and so people would come up to me all day, and the first thing they would say is, hey, how are you? And I would say a variety of different answers, but we were chatting earlier before we started the podcast about good and bad faith and playing roles in our lives. So I decided as a little self-awareness project that I wouldn't ask anybody that question unless I meant it. So people would come up and say, hey, how are you? And I'd say, I'm good. And then I wouldn't say anything else. And people actually would get very uncomfortable sometimes. And one guy even answered without me asking him. Like he said, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. And then he said, I'm fine.
Yeah, because it's the common exchange.
Yeah, I don't even know if he probably just thought I said it, right? He's so used to hearing people say, how are you back, that he had to fill in the blanks. But it's a hard habit to get out of, because it's just a greeting. It's not an actual earnest question anymore, right? We're just saying, how are you?
Yeah. Let me stop you real quick before I forget. A friend of mine told me every week he ran into this same guy, and he'd say, how are you? Like the same questions. And Klaus, is his name, would say, I'm great. And the guy would say, fantastic. And then the next week, Klaus would say, I'm good. And the guy would say, fantastic. And every week, no matter what he said, he would say, fantastic. He said, I don't think he's even understanding what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So one day he said, my mother died yesterday. And the guy went, fantastic. Because people don't even listen to it. It's just, it drove me crazy for a long time. I came up with a great answer, of course, and you're going to learn in a minute. But I wanted to hear from you first. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I would like... People aren't prepared for the truth sometimes, right? So that story is a perfect example where the guy says, oh, my mother died. But I remember asking a guy one time, like, he said, how are you? And I said, I'm fine, how are you? And he said, am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
He said, I'm shitty. I'm really shitty today. And I said, like, are you having a good day? Like, or like otherwise in life, like, are you okay? And he was like, no, life's not very good right now. And I was about to sell him, something delicious that he was buying from the bread stand. I said, maybe this will cheer you up. And he said, no, I don't think so. And he bought the thing and he left. And I thought that was like super real experience, right? Because he made no qualms about being upset, and he gave no explanation why, because I'm a stranger. I don't really deserve an explanation why. But I asked him the question.
Right.
So it was totally fair, 100%, for him to give me his actual response, his real response.
Okay, I got one for you. Because I ask this every day, thousands of times, how are you? And this one girl gets in the car. I think she was about 25. And I said, how are you? And she said, I'm sad and lonely. So I told her, well, I've got good news for you, and I've got bad news for you. The bad news is, if you continue to tell strangers that you're sad and lonely, you're going to manifest it, because in the words of René Descartes, the French philosopher, I think, therefore I am. You're thinking you're sad and lonely. You're manifesting you're sad and lonely. You're living sad and lonely, and you're caught up in that mindset. So that's the bad news. And you're not going to make many friends that way, I told her. Here's the good news. You just met Dr. Fantastic. And I'm going to give you the prescription for a happier and longer life. If you're down and you're feeling sad and lonely and you feel miserable and someone asks how you are, you merely have to say, I'm fantastic. And that word fantastic will put a smile on your face, which will release endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and it'll make you feel a little bit better. But more importantly, it'll make that person like you because you just made them feel good because the word fantastic makes them smile, and they're going to want to be your friend, and you're going to make friends, and you're not going to be sad and lonely anymore. It's a means to an end. That's the word I was going to tell you, is the secret word, because it's the only word that puts a smile on your face. Awesome doesn't do it. Great doesn't do it. Wonderful. Super. None of the words I've found so far put a smile on your face like the word fantastic.
That's the magic word.
That's the magic word.
Wow.
And it forces you to smile. So now, the argument I get from the millennials, only from the millennials, is if you tell someone you're fantastic when you're feeling miserable, you're lying or you're being disingenuous. I go, okay, I love that retort. Let's call it a big fat lie. What did that big fat lie do? One, it put a smile on your face, because you can't not smile when you're saying you're fantastic. Two, it put a smile on the other person's face, so you're both going to be happier from that moment and live longer, because those chemicals, those neuro messaging units, reduce the stress in your body when you smile. And you live longer when you have less stress, right?
Right.
So that big fat lie made two people happier and live longer. So keep lying. Lie through your teeth. You know, some people say fake it till you make it, right? I don't like that saying, but it really does hold true, because it's what's in your head that counts. If you're miserable and you're thinking you're miserable, you're going to be miserable. So you have to put a mindset that you're happy and positive. So this bee that you're seeing here in the logo is Be Fantastic.
Be Fantastic.
The bee symbolizes pollinating positivity. It's the whole channel, the whole movement is being positive, thinking positive.
Right.
And positive thinking manifests positive action, and the negative, the converse is true. Thinking negative, thinking you're going to be late, thinking it's not going to work out, thinking something's going to go wrong, manifests those actions. So I'm all about being positive. The 400 interviews that we have on the channel, all about being positive.
Right.
And now we're going into podcasting, because a lot of people like to listen to these kind of conversations between human beings that don't believe in how are you.
Right.
I mean, I wish we could just say hello. I love it in Australia. Hello, mate. That's it. They say hello.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be nice, just to start saying hello to one another?
Or good day.
Or good day. Yeah, there you go. Good day is a great one.
Famous one they always say, just good day.
But you were quoting a philosopher earlier.
Well, Sartre, who talks about bad faith and the notion of playing roles in life and how they get mixed up, so that we often lose track of the parts of our lives that define us, and they become all one thing. This is his idea, not mine, I should say, and I don't necessarily agree with it entirely, nor do I fully understand it, because it's complex, even though it sounds simple. But if we have to play different roles in life and they start to blend together, are there times where we lose sight of ourselves within those roles? And do we stop being ourselves to be the role that we're playing, and then do we carry that out? So do we go to work and be a certain person at work and go home and be a different person? Or are we blending the two together? Are we being the same person the whole time? Because let's face it, like many people who have jobs would act differently at home in a conversation, or say like not necessarily an argument, but a conflict or a disagreement, than they would when they're being paid, or they have a boss or someone standing around watching what they do, or where they can be evaluated.
Okay.
So our responses, our reactions to people are often different depending on the situation we're in. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like a doctor has bedside manner.
Right.
And then, you know, if the doctor comes in, he's not going to be like, oh, you're going to die. You're dead. I don't really care. I'm just at work. You know, they'd be nice or whatever, but maybe they wouldn't if they were in a different situation.
Okay.
You know, but so at what points in our lives do we lose sight of those things, and are we being genuine all the time? Can we strive to be genuine all the time? And I don't think that your idea of saying I'm fantastic is a bad idea by any means, because it could be that people's reaction. If someone comes and says, I'm sad and lonely, and they're sad and lonely, that's a problem they can fix, right? You know, like if you're hungry, you eat. If you're lonely, you call someone. If you're tired, you go to sleep, right?
Right.
So if you're sad and you're lonely, you've already identified 2 problems in your life, and you can fix them.
Right.
And if you fix them, then you can get in the Lyft or the Uber or the taxi, and when someone says, how are you, you can say, I'm fantastic, because you mean it.
Right.
Right. So as the fake it till you make it, again, I don't like that saying either, but there's something to be said for living with intention.
Yeah.
Right. And if your intention is to be happy, then eventually you're gonna figure out how to be happy.
Well, one of my sayings in my channel, because it's all about I travel around the world, I've done a lot of different things, and I've got certain feelings about certain things, and I express them on this channel and in my motivational speeches, right? And it's you come first. A lot of people say my wife comes first, or my husband, or my kids. No, you have to come first, because if you can't be happy, you can't make anyone else happy. And the metaphor I use is on an airplane.
Yeah.
She says when the oxygen mask drops, put it on first and help others.
Yeah.
So a lot of people aren't putting themselves first, and they need to, so they could give, you know. And this.
We found a faster route via Venice Boulevard, which saves 6 minutes. If you prefer to stay on the current route, tap no thanks.
Sorry about that interruption. I don't know if they heard it or not, but we are obviously driving across the city from the beach, where we picked up these lovely people, to Silver Lake, which is 15 miles, and it was only going to take us an hour and 15 minutes to get there. I don't know how long this podcast is going to last, but we're going to have some fun while driving across. I hitchhike around the world, so I've always made conversation in many countries, and sometimes when they didn't even speak English. You gotta. The drive goes a lot better when people are talking. You know,
it goes faster. That's for sure.
One of my sayings in my channel is, "Life is a movie," and you guys are the stars of your movie, and you're also the director of your movie. You need to direct every scene, every day in your movie to be uplifting, to be fun, educational, motivational, all those good things, worth watching, like in a good movie. Now, when someone gets in the back of this car here and they don't talk to me, it's very upsetting. It doesn't happen very often, but it's a bad scene in my movie, and it's a waste of film in my movie, and it's going to end up on the editing room floor.
Right.
And so I really do make the conversation go. And it's only happened a handful of times where they get back there and they talk on their phone and don't even say hi to me. It's only happened 3 times where they didn't even say hi. But it's like, oh, there's an emergency, you have to get out. I feel like doing that. But getting back to putting on airs and being who you are, I like the metaphor I can make on it is relationships. If people were honest at the onset of a relationship, and that's why I particularly like to talk about dating services, dating sites. I really truly believe in the power of the computer, the power of connecting, like this app, the way it connects people. It's amazing. People don't want to be hurt, and so they put on an air in the very onset of a relationship, so if in case they don't like that person, they don't get hurt.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what they introduce the person at. So they start liking that person. And then finally they get enough confidence, sometimes it's after marriage, to be themselves, to truly be themselves. And the person says, who's this?
Yeah.
Well, I'm comfortable now to be with you. Well, I don't like that person.
Yeah.
And then it breaks up. So it's, if you can be honest, because not everyone likes bald guys, not everyone likes fat chicks, but people, there's someone out for everyone. There's someone out there for everyone. And if you could just be honest, don't show a picture on a dating site of you 10 years younger and 100 pounds thinner. Be yourself. And I think that goes back to what you're saying, but you definitely can't swear at work. You can swear at home. You don't want to fart at work. You can fart at home. But, you have to put on airs just to be polite and be socially correct, But I think honesty is the best policy, as they say. And in relationships, now getting back to what you're saying about just being a real person, we all have probably different selves, And again, but nobody wants to get hurt. That's the thing.
As long as you're genuine in those actions, I think that's what it is. Like, if you're a salesperson, or if you're, someone who works in customer service, it's obviously really important to cater to the needs of the person you're working with. And sometimes you have to, you have to play a role because that's your job and that's what you're supposed to do. And the person actually expects you to be the salesperson or be the customer service person. The waiter is such a good example because it's kind of like both, right? They're trying to sell you a dinner, they're selling you a good time, and they're providing you a service that you're going to then eat and enjoy or whatever.
Right.
So, as long as people are still themselves while they're doing that, like, if you go to buy a new car and the person just tells you everything you want to hear about a new car and just to sell you a car, there's not many people really that get fooled by that. You know what I mean? Because you're just going to be like, oh, this guy's just a salesman. He's a slick salesman. He's saying all the things he wants.
Or a realtor. This house is perfect for you.
Exactly, yeah.
There's 3 offers waiting, so you better make an offer today.
Exactly. So,
people read through that pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And if the person can be genuine and still do their job, I think that's kind of like the message between it all is that, you can still be all these different things as long as you're doing it genuinely and you're being honest to a certain degree. And it's like sometimes, like, being honest, people can't handle it. Like the guy, who says, how are you? And the other guy says, my mother died. Maybe he's being a little too honest,
or upset and lonely.
Yeah.
But there's a time and place for everything as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You tell your mother you're sad and lonely, or a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
You don't tell a total stranger you're sad and lonely if you want to make friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm totally believe that this fantastic movement of mine, if you don't think of yourself in the exchange, and you know that if you say you're fantastic to someone, that they're going to feel good from it. And it's always the case so far in all my hellos, and I'm fantastic, right? It's karma. You're paying it forward. If shitty as you feel, you tell someone you're fantastic, they at least feel good. And if you can make one person smile today, you've done a good job, or laugh.
Right.
If you make 10 people smile or laugh today, you've done a fantastic job.
What if you make yourself smile?
You definitely need to. You come first.
Yeah.
You see? So, but when you say fantastic, you are making yourself smile. That's the word. That's the key word that started this movement after interviewing hundreds and hundreds of people, over 430 on the channel right now. And then before that, the SOS show I did for my veteran charity, I just got tired of everyone just answering the word good. Right. I even made an acronym for it. Yeah. People who say good are part of a huge group of moaners. I call them moaners. M-O-A-N. M for mediocre, O for ordinary, A for average, and N for normal. And I tell people, don't be a moaner. Who would want to be a moaner? Yeah. Would you want to be any of those?
No.
Mediocre, ordinary, average, or normal? No. And if you say you're fantastic, by the way, of the 579 people that are on board right now, and I want you guys to join by the time the trip's done, only 33 have ever met someone who's fantastic. Now, of course, you think people are fantastic, your mother or your brother or your significant other, but do they say they're fantastic? Right. 33 so far have met someone in their life that said that, and they never forgot them. So to me right now, I'm totally convinced that if you become fantastic, because today is the first day of the rest of your life, you're going to live longer, be happier, never be forgotten in life, do better in sales if you're in sales. If you're in management, you're going to get more respect. If you're an employee, you're going to get raises. I don't see any downfalls for lying through your teeth to tell people you're fantastic. I mean, it's just an exchange from strangers typically anyway. Now, there is a level above being fantastic that people are adopting, and it's usually if you're a single person and you meet the opposite sex or whatever sex you like for the first time, or you see a good friend, and when they ask how you are, you should say, I'm fan-fucking-tastic. Because that gets a laugh like every single time. Yeah. Like you guys just laughed. So I actually made you guys happy. I made you guys live longer just now. I don't know how, it's probably a millisecond, right? When those dopamines get released and the endorphins. If it's a millisecond, great. It's a millisecond. It's better than a millisecond the other way. Yeah. Like making you cry.
Well, you got a great delivery on that line, though, too, right? So, I mean, if I say fan-fucking-tastic, it might not be as funny as when you say it.
Oh, my God. Everyone loves saying it. Today I had 4 people say it, and when they say it, they feel like they just broke the law or something because they said it. Yeah. It's not a curse word in that context. It's an adjective. Yeah. And when people say it, why don't you guys just say it? Try it out. No, come on, a little enthusiasm there.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
You said.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
Doesn't it make you feel
That's
good?
a good thing to say.
It
yeah.
feels good
Yeah.
to say it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a relief. You know, sometimes you have to scream to the world to say, you know, I can't take it anymore. But when I see people's faces light up when they say fan-fucking-tastic, it's like, I just did something good for this person.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Now, a couple people, on the first time saying just, I'm fantastic, I've seen it happen 5 times, their faces change and they go, oh my God, they get a rush. Because I don't know if dopamine hasn't been released in a while, or the endorphins, but they get a physical rush of good feeling, and they can't even describe it.
Right.
I've seen it happen 5 times. It was amazing, and it's really cool. And a lot of the young people are adopting this. And again, we've got 579 members of this movement. I want 579 million. I mean, shouldn't everyone be fantastic?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be great? Some guys say, well, what happens if everyone starts being fantastic?
Yeah.
It's going to like diminish the popularity of it, or the allure of it.
Yeah,
I said, well, there's 7 billion people on the planet. I don't think we're going to get to that number anytime in the next couple hundred years, you know. So I think if we can move this forward, I give everybody one of these, which is an invitation to be fantastic. And after they get it, I ask them to give it, after they join, to pass it forward to someone else, and encourage them to pass it forward to someone else, to introduce them how great it is to be fantastic. You guys heard the benefits. So at the end of my interviews, I usually say, okay, guys, you have a choice now. You want to be good, okay, well, fine, all right, or fantastic? What's the decision?
Fan-fucking-tastic's not an option?
Well, that is. I usually don't ask that, but you just hit it on the nail. Now, I don't know if I'm repeating myself, but 3 people got in the car before I told them about Fantastic, and I asked them how they are, and they said, I'm fan-fucking-tastic. I go, are you kidding me?
Right.
Get up here, I'm interviewing you. And I interviewed 2 of them. It was fantastic. And then, of course, on the opposite scale was the girl that said, I'm sad and lonely.
Right.
But I'm so appreciative to her that one person out of 1,000 people said that, because she's my example every day.
Right.
She's sad and lonely
Yeah.
because she's thinking she's sad and lonely.
Yeah.
Now, another girl got on my car, lady, and it was in a different car, and she had packed all her belongings to go back to Turkey. A Turkish actress, right? And she's going back to Turkey, and we had a long conversation, long ride to the airport. She says, I feel like I'm a failure in show business. And she told me all the facts. So I turned it around. I said, listen, you are a complete success. Here's why. You spent 20 years in a piece of shit business. Really is. Got a lot of problems in business, you know, as you might. A lot of crooks, a lot of cons, a lot of, you know, pretend people, right? Plastic, I like to call it. You spent 20 years in that kind of a business. You need to think that you left it didn't leave you, 1. 2 is you were off Broadway, which is pretty cool to be in a Broadway play. You've been in movies, you've been in television shows, and you've been in commercials. And you became a U.S. citizen. If that's not all the ingredients for a successful run in America, I don't know what is. So you've got it in your mind you're a failure. You've got to put it in your mind you're not a failure, that you're a complete success. So go back to Turkey, and be a success. It's what's in your head. I think, therefore I am. And I'm on a mission for people to start thinking differently. No one's ever heard of this Be Fantastic, because no one's, of 579, only 33 people ever even heard of someone saying that, and they never forgot a soul. One lady, 65 years old, I asked her the same question, as I ask everybody, do you know anyone that's fantastic, or ever have? She goes, you know what? And they always, some of people assume that they have, but then I said, no, if you had met one, you would tell me right now who it is in your life. She goes, you know what? When I was 5 years old, now that goes back 60 years, okay? When I was 5 years old, we had a friend of the family. Whenever he came over and asked how he was, he would say it like this: I'm fantastic. And she never forgot it for 60 years. One guy, he met someone once in his life. The guy, when he first asked him, and it's the first impression, by the way, which is really important. Guy said he's fantastic. He never forgot the guy. He met him once. He doesn't know him anymore. But you never forget someone. Let me ask you 2. Have you ever met anyone, now that you think's fantastic, that says they're fantastic when asked?
Yes.
Who?
Well, because I've worked in customer service for so long, and I actually have, there's a couple customers who regularly say that. They say, I'm fantastic. And
Good.
you can tell, like, they mean it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They actually mean, like, they're doing great.
I had an older guy in the car,
Yeah.
and he answered the question. You know what? I had a personal driver, and he got in an accident and was paralyzed from the waist down. And every time I ran into him after that, I asked him how he was, and he'd say, "I'm fantastic," and he believed it, and the guy was. Because I think what happens in the mind. Matter of fact, I interviewed a guy on Venice Beach 2 days ago, paraplegic, another guy was in a car accident, and he had a camera. And he had the whole rig with the electronics and everything, and he was blowing into a tube to control the camera and control his wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see he was in a good mood. I went up and I interviewed him, and he was smiling. He was happy, and it was because I like uplifting interviews. That's what my show's all about, uplifting interviews. And I had to get really close because he could hardly talk, but everything he said was positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Are you happy?" And he says, "He's happy." What happens is the mind compensates when you lose your body or lose your limbs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they have the Paralympics. There's all these people doing things they would never have done if they didn't lose their legs or a portion of their body or whatever. So the mind is a great tool. And if you think positive thing will happen. It's the whole podcast, this whole, Instagram. On the Instagram, by the way, _fantastic today. We post a motivational slogan every day. From different people, different famous sayings, which is kind of nice. And it's all about meeting total strangers and having fun and talking about life, love, the pursuit of happiness, and being fantastic. What do you think?
It's great.
You guys see the light? Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Get out your phones.
Yeah.
Open up YouTube. And put in uplifting interviews. Join the movement. Join the movement. And you two people are listening. Open up your phone. Go to YouTube. Put in uplifting interviews. It populates the uplifting interviews with total strangers. Now, I also have a call-in number at 2 p.m. Daily. 714-316-9829. Love to hear about you if you've seen any UFOs. I love talking UFOs. You guys seen any?
I've seen a UFO.
Good. Now we're segueing into my favorite subject: unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrials.
Okay.
Go with it.
You want to hear this?
Yeah, of course.
My friends and I, my two friends lived in a small town, and there wasn't a lot to do. So we would at night sometimes maybe someone had a party, maybe not.
What's a small town?
Just a couple thousand people.
No. I mean, what's the name of it?
Oh, it's in Canada. It's called Caledonia, and it's not a suburb necessarily. It's going to be one day a suburb probably of a city, but at this time it was like a fairly small town, like one stoplight.
Okay.
No McDonald's.
Sure.
That kind of thing, right? And so we were like teenagers, and we were just hanging out in the park because that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a clear night, summer. Three of us, we were laying on the top of the jungle gym or whatever, and we were watching the sky, we were watching the stars. And there was a, long cloud that kind of split our view of the sky. So it was like, if you looked at it from where we were laying, it looked like a couple inches wide in the sky, if you will,
Okay.
right? It's a big swath of cloud, just like a line through the sky.
Right.
What we saw was a light in the sky, high up in the sky, not close by. It didn't land on us or anything. But this light was moving across the sky. But it wasn't moving in a straight line. It was wobbling, up and down fairly dramatically. And it was moving at a fairly great speed. So if you've ever watched a jet in the sky, like a commercial airline, and the lights are flashing and it's going across the sky, you know what it is. You can see it's an airplane, it's flashing, it's moving across the sky, and it moves at a pretty
even pace.
Yeah, even pace and kind of a slowish speed because it's so high in the sky, right? So this was the same height in the sky as your typical jet that you see, but the lights weren't flashing. The lights were solid.
Okay.
One solid white light, quite large, and it was erratically bouncing kind of up and down like a zigzag as it moved across the sky rapidly.
It wouldn't have been zigzag, it'd been up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a stethoscope or something.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So we watched it, we all saw it, three of us, and we all watched it move across the sky towards this strip of cloud in the sky.
Oh.
Right?
Now this was day.
This was nighttime.
Nighttime.
You could see the cloud.
But you could see the cloud
because there was no stars behind it.
Oh,
It was
okay.
this big cloud across the sky. It was the only cloud in the sky, really. So it kept moving towards this big cloud in the sky, and we were all watching it. We pointed it out, and everybody was seeing it.
Now, was it going faster than a jetliner?
Yeah, it was fast.
So it was going fast.
Yeah.
So it's going to get there pretty quick, I guess.
Yeah, and then it went in behind the cloud, and then, based on our observation of how fast it appeared to be moving and how skinny the cloud was in the sky in relation to it, it should have popped out the other side, in a uniform amount of
But
time.
it wouldn't have oscillated on top or the bottom of the cloud, you're saying?
It just went behind the cloud.
So
and
it was a small enough... I'm trying to get the
Yeah,
whole facts.
yeah.
That it wouldn't have been seen on top of the bottom of the cloud, right?
Correct. It was behind the cloud.
Okay.
And because it must have been higher up than the cloud. And then we all anticipated it coming out the other side of the cloud, and we were going to keep watching it, and it didn't. And then one of us said, where did it go? And then it reappeared from the same direction, like the direction it was going. It came back out from behind the cloud.
On the other side, the left side of the
On
cloud?
the side that it went into. So say we
Okay.
were watching it, and it was
From left to
moving-
right?
It was moving from right to left.
Okay,
in
right
the
to left.
sky, and it went behind the cloud. We had a moment to be like, hey, where did it go? And then it came back out going in the opposite direction, the same side of the cloud it entered,
Okay.
but in a perfectly straight line,
Okay.
twice as fast,
Oh.
and like got fainter and fainter and fainter and disappeared.
Wow. So that is definitely a UFO. I wouldn't say it's a helicopter.
No, it was an unidentified flying object.
It certainly was.
It might not have been a spaceship. Could have been military. It could have been of some kind of anomaly. but
Well,
it was
the thing is,
certainly unidentified.
planes don't... I mean,
No.
I'm trying to get an idea of how steep a curve the zigzag was.
And when it was doing the zigzag in the sky, when it came back up from behind the cloud going in the opposite direction, it didn't do the zigzag anymore.
Right.
It had a completely different kind of flight path or trajectory or whatever you want to call it. It was something else.
And how long after seeing that did it stay in the conversation? I don't know, did weeks went by and you still talked about it? Did you inquire about it? Did you report it? Did you guys say we shouldn't tell anybody they think we're idiots? Or
No, just like...
and what drugs were you taking?
None, zero drugs. That's the thing. If that would have been, if there was drugs involved, we probably would have just ignored it. But there was no drugs involved, no alcohol, nothing. We were just, 3 teenage kids, just hanging out, watching this, watching the sky, because we had nothing to do. And then we saw this thing. We told probably everyone we know, and no one really cares.
Right.
And there wasn't internet or anything then, so we didn't, we couldn't Google or this or that or,
Well, I watch a lot of shows on extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
And there's a series called Ancient Aliens, which was quite brilliant. Did you watch that at all?
No, but I've heard of it.
And it just talks about the history of mankind and the structures that have been built and the drawings that have been drawn throughout the ages. Mm-hmm. They actually found recently a hammer. Mm-hmm. And the hammer was petrified wood, of course, it's so old. And the alloy head of the hammer was extremely high grade. And they carbon dated the hammer to 500 million years old.
Right.
Explain that, Lucy.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, and the Madonna, the painting of the Madonna, it's kind of interesting. There's a flying saucer in the background, and a guy in the far distance pointing to it, or going like this, looking at it. That's quite famous. Christopher Columbus saw a light come out of the ocean. He wrote in his log, and shoot to the heavens in a second without any noise. That was written in the log when he was crossing to discover America.
Wait, so you're telling me and my 2 friends are not the only people who see
Well, there's 4 of you. There's 4 of you now. 10. What is it? I think I get a report every month from MUFON. I think America's lead last month. I want to say 560 sightings in America, and a total of about 700 throughout the world. Every country reports them. Russia's admitting to it now. There was the blue Majestic 12 was a huge what do they call it, agency that was to study UFOs from Eisenhower era. And they have volumes of government issued instructions on how to deal with and recover and cover up alien crashes. My son saw an orb in Ojai recently, a couple months ago, It hovered in the backyard, about this size, glowing at night, and shot off to the horizon in a second without any noise. So in the family, I've got a witness. I'm still looking forward to my first UFO.
Yeah.
I think I saw one when I was on my 21st birthday at a big party in Bel Air, and I saw this light like a star, but it was emitting colors. And like a star would, some stars look like they're different colors. And it was way out in space, and we went into dinner, and 45 minutes came out, and it was in the same spot. Because the celestials, the stars change every 45 minutes, right? And it was in the same spot. So that is the only thing that came close to maybe witnessing the UFO. One time I was driving with my wife to Mammoth, and it was a stretch of highway, maybe 10 miles straight, over the desert, and she goes, "Look at that." And by the time she said, "Look at that," she was looking off to the right. It was in the horizon, and it was about 20 feet off the ground. I think it was an ICBM.
Oh, wow.
And it looked like it was like a little cockpit, though, which ICBMs don't usually have, and a little tail. And it was. She said, "Look at that!" And by the time she said that, it was gone in the horizon. It was going thousands of miles an hour. So that was pretty amazing to see that. But there's so many mysteries. The pyramids, they're lined up. There's thousands of them. They're lined up around the world with each other and celestial bodies. And we didn't have boats back then to communicate. They've got maps of the world and the stars that were made thousands of years ago, before we had telescopes or any way of seeing and drawing a map of the world. I mean, there's so many things that are mysterious in the world, but we're not supposed to think about those things. You're supposed to go to work at 8 to 5, and then clean the house and mow the lawn and buy the groceries on the weekend, so you can go to work at 8 to 5 again, and not think about this kind of stuff. Because once they know there's aliens, and you do know they're out there, religion goes out the door, and then once they come out with the free energy and the anti-gravity, the petrodollar is because our whole society is based on the petrodollar, and once that's, we just can't come up with free energy. It's going to ruin everything. So there's a lot of exciting things going on.
One thing we also have to remember, just as a check, is that the ancient people were very smart, and they had a lot of time to think about things that, like the sky and where things are and where stars were, and they had the benefit of a lot of lack of light, so they got to see the celestial bodies in such a way that we rarely get to see, because we have so much light pollution, even in some of the darkest places in Western civilization.
Well, that's why they put a satellite telescope out in space.
Still light pollution, right? So the constellations were much more visible to ancient people, and tracking the stars was something that was done with much more accuracy in some cases, even, right, than we can.
Yeah, but
as lay people. Right?
But we're still discovering stuff with the Hubble out there in space.
Oh yeah.
They just discovered an explosion that it's like 100 million times bigger than the sun. I mean, it was just this unbelievable explosion they just discovered. If you can comprehend infinity, which most humans can't, okay, there's infinite lives out there, infinite worlds, not 4 or 5, but infinite. And they were done. I mean, look at us. In the last 50 years, we quadrupled our intelligence of all humankind.
Yeah.
And it's just the rate we're going is pretty incomprehensible. My interviews and the shows, hope you get to see a few. One guy is designing the rules for flying taxis.
Oh wow.
Another guy is a Caltech scientist, is creating artificial intelligence from DNA machines to create artificial intelligence from DNA in test tubes at Caltech, and he's the only one in the world doing it. And he published a paper recently in Nature magazine, which is, I guess, it's a big deal. I mean, the people that I get to meet driving this car is fantastic. Yeah. It's incomprehensible.
Bring it back.
It's just, how lucky can I be to drive a guy who just spent $502,000 on his education as a spine surgeon, and I'm driving him to his first job interview. which I don't think there's too many people going to interview for the job.
No,
I think
oh,
he's going to
yeah.
get the job. And I interviewed him, and it was a great interview. And I asked the tough questions, and he couldn't answer some of them because I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
It's your movie. Life's your movie. You got to direct every scene.
You don't want to be an extra in it.
No, you don't want to be an extra in it. You want to direct it to be fantastic. So Dr. Fantastic strikes again. I'm gonna make a cartoon. It's gonna be a superhero called Dr. Fantastic.
Oh, okay.
He's gonna cure people of their moaning. You like that moaning thing?
Yeah, the moan
That's pretty
acronym
good, huh?
is pretty great.
That's pretty
Yeah,
good, huh?
You did a good job on that.
Thank you. That was.
It's funny though, because that seems to be 4 things that a lot of people strive for.
You think?
Yeah, people want to be ordinary and they want to be normal. Like I just
Oh
want to
my
be a
God.
normal person.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh
I don't
my
understand
God.
it. I can't imagine. But I just, like, maybe I'd like to be average height or average weight.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
in
average
terms of-
weight would be. I'll go with average weight.
Yeah, but in terms of like everything else in life, some people just want that basic life.
Well, I did meet one guy that wouldn't even say I'm fantastic.
No?
He wouldn't say it. I said, "Come on, just say it." He said, "No." I go, "Oh my gosh, sorry to talk to you."
What do you think would happen? if you said it?
I don't know. Maybe his head would explode or something. He wouldn't say it.
Weird.
Okay. I mean, it's not going to hurt. Well, maybe it's going to hurt. I don't know. People sure enjoy saying it though.
That's interesting.
Okay, so we covered the UFO topic. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Love UFOs.
Yeah.
I don't ever talk religion or politics.
That's
That's off base.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about
No,
this.
those because we don't know anything about anything.
Yeah,
We're
let's
just told they tell us what
let's
they
stick to
want us to know,
nonfiction, Yeah.
right? What's the fake news? The fake news.
Not interested.
So you guys, are you a couple? Are you married? Engaged?
We're a couple, but not married. Yeah.
Couple not married, living in lust,
Yep.
which is it's a good way to be.
Yep. It's cheaper.
The piece of paper doesn't mean anything.
Nothing at all.
So now, all my interviews have been uplifting, and this is the first time I'm talking about it on a podcast, of course, but I did have one interview that it didn't air, and it was a tragic love story. And
Wow.
I still won't air it, but if I do air it, I'm going to air it with a prologue saying that you need to learn something from this horrific love story, tragic love story, and what you should learn is love the one you're with,
Yeah.
because you don't know how long you're going to have.
That's right.
So the 2 guys get in the car, and I start to interview them, and they're telling me about a friend of theirs, and that he had fallen in love a year prior to me meeting these guys, and their friend, for the first time in his life, fell in love, head over heels love. The girl fell in love with him, bliss. They got married, and 4 months into this blissful, idyllic marriage, she slips in the shower and cracks her head open and dies.
Whoa.
Horrific. 8 months later, which is the week before I met these guys, he commits suicide.
Whoa.
So the moral of the story is you don't know how long you have someone.
No, no.
And every day is so precious.
That's right.
Now, I was orphaned at 9. My parents died when I was 9 years old.
That's right.
And so I have a real strong dictum that every day is important because you don't know how much time you have on the rock. I call it the rock.
Yeah.
And the worst thing you could do is live for retirement and not get there,
Right.
right? Or die with money in the bank, which I think is a sin. Die in debt.
Yeah.
With a huge debt is my theory. A large, very large debt.
As long as you're not sticking it to someone who
No.
can't handle it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Don't
I'm not
stick it to
sure what the
anybody.
rules
That
are
would-
in California. If
I
you
don't
die
think
with
it.
debt.
I don't think you inherit your parents' debt, do you?
I think you do. Yeah, I think
Why
someone's
would
gotta
you?
pay for that.
Why
no?
would
Yeah. I'm
Huh?
pretty sure you do.
you
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
you inherit your parents' debt?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know you inherit their money if they have it.
No, I'm pretty sure someone's got to pay that. Someone's going to come looking for you.
Well, if anyone's listening live right now, call 714-316-9829.
Let us know
I
the
want to hear
statute of limitations on
what the
parents'
deal
debt.
is on the debt.
So here, can I add a story?
Sure.
Okay, so we still have some time here.
Oh, lots of time.
So when I was a teenager, I was involved in a pretty bad accident. A tree fell on my friends and I. We were in a tent.
Ooh.
And my one friend was completely unharmed. My other friend's shoulder tore through her arm. It was gruesome, and she had a fracture in her skull. And I shattered a vertebrae in my spine, and I had a pretty deep cut on the top of my head. at the end of the day, we all came out alive. You know, we were young. I was 17. They were 16. We were 16, 17. The three of us, whatever, you know, by a few months here and there, right? And you know, it was pretty